She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
If you gotta lie and you gotta hide, chances are you probably shouldn't be doing it. Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so very blessed that you decided to join us. We talk about success on this show, things that stop you from becoming successful. Inhibitors, roadblocks, giant, huge potholes, even cliffs that can hurt you. They hurt you financially. They can hurt your marriage. They can hurt your health. Various different things. Today's one of the days that we're going to be talking about something that can actually keep you from becoming successful. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of success that you know the media is trying to sell you to be success, because you and I both bought that thing. It was really expensive and it did not work. You know, we bought it. We bought the big house. We bought the car. We bought all the junk, and we bought the stress, and we brought the pressure, and we bought the broken relationships. We bought the mess that came along with it. That's why here, man, we just pull up the covers and go, here's the truth, baby, because we're not going to live that lie. We don't want to live a facade. We don't have a mask on trying to keep up with the Joneses. Why? Because the Joneses are broke, and you might be one of them. I was one. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we used to be the Joneses that people were trying to keep up with, and we were broke, almost $1 million in debt. Ridiculousness. It was a terrible time in my life. I'm so glad we're not there anymore. So we're going to talk about something that you might think is hidden, it's secret, and you think it's not going to affect your job. That's what you think. No, Dani, what I do on my personal time does not affect my earning power. What I do in the privacy of my own home, what I do in the privacy of with my own television or with my own computer or my own cell phone or my own iPad, is none of anyone else's business. And that's my personal space. So stay out of it. I got you, man. But check it out. Shame, guilt, and isolated secrets, lies, denial, numbness, is the fruit of what 40 million Americans know exactly that fruit. They know exactly how that feels because they have been involved in that secret, sexy, lustful sin of pornography. It's destructive. Check this out. Right this minute, picture this. 28,000 people are watching porn. You're not, because you're with me. But 28,000 people right this second are watching porn. It affects people of all walks of life. It really does. It affects doctors, lawyers, teachers, pastors, bankers, grocery store workers, contractors, CEOs, writers, Christians. Let's have an honest conversation. If you have the courage to share your story, we want to hear it. How has pornography impacted your life? No judgment here. It's affected my life. It's affected my husband's life. It's affected my children's life. Pornography is a sneaky little thing of which I hate with a passion. And boy, does it draw you in. And then you've got images filling your mind that you can't get out. And you've got this secret thing that you're living with. And you can't stop thinking about it even when you're at work. You feel dirty. It's almost as though someone knows. Well, you're right. Someone does know. Your Father in heaven who loves and adores you and has a plan and a purpose for your life. He knows. He sees your finger and what it's doing, what it's clicking on, and then what happens next. Here's the facts. It hurts your earning power. It robs your motivation. It sucks your confidence right out of you. It robs your future. It's like a thief in the night. In fact, the thief does come in the night because there you are, even laying next to your spouse, whom you're committed to and whom you love. Yet your dreams, this thief enters your dreams. And you begin fantasizing about someone that you saw on a screen, but yet you're so committed to your family. And by the way, it's not just men. There's a high percentage of women too. So if you have the courage, we want to hear your story. We've got Russ on the line from Georgia. Russ, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Oh, hey, Dani.
Hi. So what's your story with pornography?
Oh, it is a long story. I have actually been addicted to pornography since I was 10 years old when I was first exposed to it.
How were you exposed at 10 years old? Tell us the secret there. How did they get to you?
Well, actually, where I grew up in Detroit, apparently there was a lot of porn shops around my house.
Yep.
And I happened to be walking with a friend of mine down an alley behind our house, and we found a Hustler magazine behind there, and you know, of course, curious little boys, you know, we started looking at the magazine.
Yep.
And it was like a crack addict taking the hit for the first time. I was instantly hooked on it.
Yep.
I could not get enough of it.
Wow.
And that was at 10.
Wow. Can you stop right here? You were 10 years old. You're so innocent at 10 years old. You're still playing with G.I. Joe men at 10 years old. Do you know, you're still reading comic strips at 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? You're still watching cartoons at 10 years old. You're still playing board games with mom at 10 years old. You still sit on mom's lap at 10 years old. You still try to feed the dog your green beans without your parents knowing when you're 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? So what was that like to have that innocence, that boyhood stolen from you at 10 years old?
You know, it's a really weird feeling when something like that enters into your mind at such a young age, because you don't understand why you're so drawn to something like that. Yeah. There's such a power behind those images that I couldn't understand, and it felt like something came creeping into my heart, a darkness that I was not able to understand, process, or get rid of. I just knew I had a craving for something that previously I did not have before.
The day before you didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it I don't know. I mean, I never really thought about it, how much it took my innocence away. But in all actuality, it did, because it changed how I thought about girls. It changed how I thought, about everything. I mean, that I saw women just through that prism, and it really has affected me my entire life.
How, Russ, has it affected you your entire life?
Well, I've grown up in the church, and actually at one point, I got married to my wonderful wife, and I've been hiding this secret of pornography my entire life, from friends, from family, from church, from my wife. My entire life I was hiding this because I was ashamed of it. I was afraid of it. I was afraid that if I told anyone what was really going on inside of my mind and my heart, especially in the church, that they would chase me out of the church with flaming Bibles screaming, "Pervert, don't you ever dare come back here again."
Yep.
And I was terrified that if my wife knew what I was really thinking about other women and doing on the computer when she wasn't home, that she would divorce me in an instant, because I was afraid of being rejected. So I never told anybody. I was afraid. And it affected me in all my relationships. It affected me in relationships with God. It affected my relationship with the teenage boys, because I was their youth pastor. And here I am as a youth pastor during a time in my life where I'm telling them, don't look at pornography. It's bad. It'll tear your life up. And yet I'm going and I'm doing the same thing. I had become a hypocrite. And it was destroying me on the inside for every relationship I had ever had, and especially then when I became a father to all my girls. I have 4 daughters, and yet here I am, still addicted and looking at pornography, and yet here I'm trying to teach my girls to become godly women. And there was such a spirit of guilt and shame, and every time that I would look at it, and I didn't want to look at it, but I couldn't stop myself from looking at it.
Russ, I so admire your humility and your transparency, because, you see, when we keep those lies hidden, It has power over us, so much more power over us than when we come out and it gets exposed and then we start to ask for help. What are you doing? Because you're obviously telling me this right now, right here. Who else now have you told?
Well, fortunately for me, about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, this kind of exploded in my marriage. The reason why it exploded was because secrets don't stay a secret for long, no matter how long you want them to.
That's right.
And my pornography issues came out because, let's just say I'm not that computer savvy, so when it came to trying to hide my history, I couldn't keep anything hidden, so my wife found what I was looking at.
Yes.
But I know God orchestrated it that way, so that way I could actually end up dealing with this issue.
Yes.
And I am very thankful for this, because my wife, she actually told me, she said, you have a choice. You can either choose pornography or you can choose this family. You cannot have both.
Amen.
And I am thankful that she did it, because when I got to that point where I realized this is going to completely destroy my marriage and my family, I need help. Yes. And so for the first time in 30 years, I went and I found help for my issue. I found a ministry called Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
And it was at that ministry I found a safe place where I can share about my issues and not being judged for what I was dealing with.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful for that. And so I have been in recovery, in Celebrate Recovery, for 5 years.
Good job.
And because of that ministry, I am now, I would say I am no longer controlled by pornography. I still struggle with it, but I'm no longer controlled by it.
Amen.
I can't even tell you the last time I looked at pornography. My relationship with my wife has been restored. Yes. I can honestly look at my girls and teach them how to grow up in Christ without struggling with all this guilt, this baggage, and these issues that were weighing me down for so many years of my life.
Yes, yes.
And so now I actually have the opportunity, because I've come forward and I've pushed this thing out from the darkness into the light. And I tell everyone about my issues. I tell everyone that there is hope in Jesus Christ, and when you surrender to Him, I tell everyone about what Celebrate Recovery has done for me and has done in my relationship. And it is amazing to see, when I speak about what God has done in my life, just how many people are just so tremendously touched.
Yes.
Because I'm willing to share my weakness.
Yes.
It gives them strength.
And it's in your weakness that God's strength is actually revealed. That's what it is. In our weakness, His strength is revealed. And that's why we have to come out of the darkness and into the light. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Sometimes you got to go after those things that have been going after you. Yeah. Sometimes you got to come clean. Sometimes you got to confess the truth. Why? Because when you confess the truth, the darkness no longer has power over you. There's something, it's a plague that's in our nation that has deeply hurt so many people, both men and women. We're talking about pornography, and I know that, you might be saying, well, Dani, I'm a Christian. Hello, Christians don't mess with that. Really? Well, I'm sorry to tell you that 70% of Christian men admitted to struggling with pornography in their daily lives, according to CNN. That's 7 out of 10 men in your church. In your church. 40% of women are involved with online pornography as well. That's 4 out of 10 women. I remember the very first time that I heard a story from a woman. I will never forget it. I was in Jacksonville, Florida, doing a First Steps to Success. And we had a time where clients were sharing their testimonials of getting promoted, making more money, paying off their debt, healing relationships. And this one Hispanic woman grabs a microphone and she says, I was addicted to pornography before I came to First Steps to Success. And since I learned the power of all of these strategies, I have been completely free of pornography. Pornography almost destroyed my marriage. And I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful, godly man. And as a Christian, I was addicted to pornography. Then all of a sudden, things began to get unraveled. I even had a worship leader, a very well-known worship leader who's known internationally, that came to me and said, I have to tell you something. I'm addicted to pornography. Okay, there, I said it. And then she left. I was like, okay, wow. Pretty soon, more and more females, not just men, but females who have struggled with this terrible terror that rips them up inside. And just as we just heard from one of our faithful listeners, Russ from Georgia, just tell his entire story about the addiction that he had to pornography and how it controlled his life and almost destroyed his entire family. 30 years of an addiction. I want to give you the name of that site or that group that helped him. Celebrate Recovery. I'm pretty sure you can find it if you Google it, Celebrate Recovery. In fact, right here in my little town, they're doing it locally at a church. It's Celebrate Recovery. They deal with all kinds of addictions, and I'm telling you, it has been noted by psychologists that pornography is stronger than a meth addiction. It hits a certain part of the brain that is more controllable than crystal meth. Crystal meth is the hardest drug to break free from, but there is a way to break free, just as what you just heard. Now, I know right now you're sitting there going, Dani, really? This doesn't apply to me. I mean, come on, so what? What I do in the privacy of my own home is my business. Who cares? Shut up about this already. I care about you. I care about you. And I want you to see, I want you to open your eyes and see the destruction that is all around you because of pornography. You don't even realize, you think that your financial trouble is not related to the porn addiction, but it is related to the porn addiction. You're not having success financially because of the guilt and the shame and the filthiness that you feel inside of you, and because pornography comes with mind control. It's controlling your mind. You can't think clearly at work. You can't focus on what you need to be getting done. You feel bad about yourself and you think that somehow it's going to be found out and everyone is going to judge you and everyone is going to hate you. No one's going to respect you when they find out about this dirty little secret that you think is hidden, and it's really not. It's written all over you. It is. It's written all over you. Oftentimes, people who are addicted to pornography have weight problems. They do. It's kind of a self-protection. One addiction leads to the next addiction. Pornography is like a portal into other addictions, often food addictions, and sometimes into alcohol and drugs. Spending addictions come out of pornography. Why? There is this thing that you got to get. You got to get this instant jolt of adrenaline and living on the wild side. So then we do other frivolous things that are just straight up foolishness. Foolishness in our private lives will translate into our professional lives. Foolishness, filthiness. It's a habit, and one that can be broken, and there is help. There is, but you got to tell the truth. You got to come clean. You got to risk it all, friend. You got to risk it all. That's what it takes to succeed. And I promise you that once you break free from this, you're going to learn that your destiny has been knocking on the door waiting for you, saying, come on out. Come on out of these chains. Come on out of this black shield that's over your eyes. It causes you not to see clearly those around you or even see yourself clearly. Come out and be free. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to find more solutions and hear more stories right after this.
If you feel like no one in the world cares about your pain, you've come to the right place. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
But I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880, or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani, it's harmless. It doesn't affect anyone but me. Lie number one. Pornography affects everyone that is around you. Joining me now is Mary Howard from San Antonio, Texas, here to tell her story about an addiction to pornography. Mary, I'm blown away that you're on the line with me right now. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me share my story. I'm a little nervous.
Actually, I feel like I want to let the whole cat out of the bag. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Mary actually wrote the show. Mary actually wrote the show. She's our content writer inside of our company. Mary, who's laughing, no shame is in her voice right now. And as soon as I read this, I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then I look on my screen, I see her name, Mary. That's freedom. You really have come into freedom. And it's been awesome watching your journey because you confessed this to me years ago. And I've watched you make choices that are wise and not. So go for it, baby. This is your show right now.
Well, so I was exposed to pornography when I was 8 years old.
How at 8 years old, Mary? Tell us how. How does an 8-year-old little girl get exposed to pornography?
I was molested starting when I was 8 years old, and this person is the one that introduced me to porn, and I very quickly was addicted, and I was completely addicted for 17 years, up until actually 165 days ago, which is I never imagined that I would ever be at this place. I could never see an end to it. It was something that I was in so much bondage, and I didn't know what freedom felt like because I had not been free for so long.
It had to be all that you knew, Mary. You're 8 years old, and for 17 years struggling with that and being addicted to it daily, involved with this wicked thing that just had you by the neck. And as your coworker, I always knew when you would have a really bad bout with it because there'd be no life in your face. There'd be no light in your eyes. And your work performance would be affected by it. Talk about that, because so many people are like, it doesn't affect my professional life. Talk about how it has affected your professional life.
Oh my gosh, it affects everything. For so many years within that 17 years, I was completely depressed and suicidal because I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I was being choked. I felt like I couldn't breathe because this thing just had me around the neck. And so I would come into work and, working at a place like DaniJohnson.com where we actually get to, see people get set free from so many things and change their lives so drastically. And yet there I was, completely addicted, and I felt like the biggest hypocrite. I felt like I wasn't worthy of the work that I was doing. And it tore me up, but I couldn't get free. I tried to walk away and I couldn't.
You actually almost got let go because your work performance just, when you don't feel worthy, right, then you act unworthy. And you were like so diligent and you're so talented. She's an incredible writer. and so amazing and so sweet and wonderful. She makes the best cupcakes in the world. I mean, there's so much beauty around Mary, and yet Mary felt unworthy. And when we feel unworthy, we act unworthy. And we're talking grace, 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 talks after talks after talks after talks. And it came to a place where, Mary, you're going to have to pick whether or not you want to stay or you want to go.
Yeah.
So shortly after that, like literally you were suspended. What happened? Like, what changed, Mary? It's been a miraculous thing that I've seen. And I want you to talk about the tip that you've been using that has helped you.
Last year, 2014, was one of the hardest years of my life because I had just given up on everything. I had walked away from God. I hated my life, and I gave up on the idea of ever being free from this. And I came to a place where it was either, I had to make a decision, and I had made the wrong decision for so long. And the Lord really just did something inside of me, and I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't expecting it, and it just kind of happened. And in an instant, He completely delivered me from this thing. And I haven't turned back. I haven't gone back to that place. And I thank God every day because I know what's at the end of the road of, pornography addiction and, so many things that come with that. And I just, I thank God every day that I'm not there anymore. And to be completely honest, it's a miracle that I made it through last year. It's a miracle that I'm alive today because the road I was going down was not a good one.
Yeah. I remember you sending me a text telling me that He had delivered you. And here's what I believe. You surrendered. You really did. You gave up. And He rescued you. He rescued you. And all those prayers that you prayed, Mary, all the prayers that all of us have prayed, those that you confided and told, all the prayers that were prayed for you by people that you don't even know, God answered them all in an instant, and He delivered you and set you free, and He rescued you, and He loved you. And I know you felt His incredibly intense love and forgiveness for it all. And I remember you sending me, I think it was after 30 days of you being completely clean, you sent me a picture of a calendar with X's on them for 30 days saying it's been 30 days. I am free. I am free. So now, and then you just sent me that text 15 days ago saying 150 days I'm free. Man, I cry every time I get that text message from you that, wow, this is amazing and awesome. I also want to point out, because I don't want someone to just think, oh, I'm going to wait for that wonderful Shazam from heaven and bam, I got it. Mary, you also pursued Him. Right in that moment, we all started this prayer meeting together, and you began to worship your heart out, and you really connected with Him. I believe you actually gave your life that day to Him. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, from darkness to light in a moment is what I watched with my physical eyes. And hearing you worship your heart out at our prayer meetings and pray your guts out for other people to be free. Another thing that you did, Mary, is you went and told somebody other than me. Who did you tell?
I told several people, that needed to know, but the most important one, my mom. I had to have that conversation with her, and just because I hid everything, starting when I was 8 years old, and so the last a few months has been all about coming clean with the people that I need to come clean with, and just be real and not be ashamed because that's my past, and that's not who I am anymore. That's not where I am, and He has set me free, and so I now get to live my life being free.
Amen.
So
Amen. I remember you sent me the text like, okay, I'm scared. I'm going to go see my mom. And Mary and her mother have an awesome relationship, and they're really, really close, but Mary never told her about this struggle.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, oh my gosh, Dani, how am I going to do this? I go, just do it. Just say it. Just say it. Your mom loves you. She might not be surprised. She might not be surprised at all. And she might have the same addiction, and this might bring conviction. You never know. Every time you tell your story, someone's like, oh, crap. You know what I mean? They're like, oh. They get confronted with your testimony of how you are now free. Mary,
Yeah.
I know you can't see me right now, but I'm a mess, and I am so grateful for you, and I'm so proud of you for doing this nationally. Right, internationally. You know who watches this show. You know who listens to it. You know who you're preparing content for every single day. And here's you with absolutely no shame. And I present you before all of our listeners absolutely with no shame. If people think for a second that a ministry or a church or a company like ours that helps people to succeed, if they think for a second that we're all perfect, they got their head in their colon. I don't think that was a good thing that I just said. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. But it's true. You got your head in your intestinal tract. Give me a break. We are all real people with real struggles. What determines success is we make it past the struggle. We persist. We don't give in. And we don't give up. And we don't give in and give up on each other. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Go to DaniJohnson.com to find out about our next live event, First Steps to Success in Orlando, Florida.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Pornography rips up marriages. So what, Dani? Really? It actually increases infidelity in marriage by 300%. Dani, listen, I don't listen to your show to talk about porn. I listen to your show so I can learn how to make more money. Well, guess what? Do you know that divorce is very expensive? Huh? Child support. Uh-huh. 2 households. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Emotional pain and trauma from the divorce. It's all expensive. The impact it makes on your career. It costs you money to walk through the doors of pornography. It costs you money. I ain't walking through the door. I'm just pressing play. Well, you're playing with fire, my friend. We're listening to stories of people who have had the courage. All we did was make a post on Facebook and just said, if you've got the courage to share your pornography story so that somebody else might be able to be helped or set free or warned and make a new decision, please call in. I'm blown away by all of the people that had courage to take part in today's program. We have Melanie Jones from Alberta, Canada. Melanie, what happened to your marriage due to pornography?
Well, it was destroyed, plain and simply. I didn't know anything about porn. Like, I'd never ever really heard about it or never ever experienced it in my growing up, and then get married, think we're going to be happily ever after. And this was quite a few years ago already, so it was magazines then. I found a ton of them. And I was so disgusted. I was so absolutely sick. Like, I physically thought I was going to be sick. So I tried to burn them, but those things don't burn that well. So then my husband had found them half burnt. And I was just shaking. It was just probably one of the worst experiences I've been through, I think.
How did it make you feel as a wife? How did that make you feel as a wife?
Oh, I felt like he had cheated on me a million times. Yeah, I felt like I was absolutely not good enough. I was not, I was not enough to please him. I was not enough to satisfy him. that eventually led me to be very, very disrespectful to him, very almost
evil,
almost hateful. I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to say hateful, but I was very disrespectful, and it got so that I couldn't, anything he would say, I would just be like, yeah, whatever. And then it got so that I didn't want to be with him in an intimate fashion at all, because I'm like, what do you need me for? Yeah. Go do your thing and get lost. Leave me alone. Wow. And in all honesty, that was the end. It took me a while to realize that was the end, the cause of the end of our marriage.
Yep.
Because I took all the blame on myself. You know, I just said, oh, you know, we just wanted different things, and I didn't know God then at all, not at all. But he came to me after I was already out of my marriage. But after I had, you know, met Jesus, and I realized that was the start of the end of my marriage. Yes. was finding that stuff and knowing, and you know, he hid it then, but then once he knew that I knew, he seemed to think that it was okay. He kept telling me that it was going to make our sex life better, and I believed him for a while, but it just fell apart hard and fast. And you know, we've been apart for 6 years already, more than 6 years, and he has been in relationship after relationship after relationship, and they're all breaking down, all falling apart, and he can't
figure it out.
He won't admit that it's because of that addiction that these relationships, it's all somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault.
And that's actually, that's the actions and the voice of a victim. The voice of a victim never, ever, ever, meaning the voice of an addiction, never takes personal responsibility. People who have addictions blame and deflect their addiction on somebody else. It's very manipulative. Addiction comes with manipulation and control, and will make you feel guilty for the way you felt with feeling betrayed, and that adultery had been committed against you. And guess what? Adultery was committed against you. Pornography is adultery. Clearly, it is adultery. I'm so sorry about you walking through that. I've walked through it myself, and I know exactly how you felt. And it's a pain. But I'm also so happy to hear that you met the Savior who washes it all clean, makes all things new. And you don't have to live up to any of those broads that have no self-respect themselves, who don't value themselves, but have succumbed to something. By the way, Melanie, I almost, when I was homeless, I got offered a penthouse pet position. Wow. I got offered a one-day $25,000 shoot for pornography for that magazine when I was homeless. And something inside of me, I had a $35,000 debt. It'd been like, bam, done. And then I just saw my stepfather. I knew he looked at pornography. And then I saw my old pastor. And I thought, oh, no way. Oh, no way. If my pastor's a closet pornographer, I know the man that raised me is full-fledged pornographer. They opened that magazine and they saw me? Not happening. The next day I started a business. From the trunk of my car in a payphone booth. 2 years later, I was a millionaire. Could you imagine? Could you imagine how negatively affected my career could have been? Could you imagine my children finding pictures on the internet of me completely naked? I have 5 kids, 3 sons. Wow. The course of my life. I know I would have been dead. Actually, I would have never had those kids. Never would have had those kids. I would have committed suicide. No question. No question. Melanie, I'm so glad that you found the Savior and that you found hope in him and that he has healed and set you free and delivered you. All right, we got Christy Lee from Alberta, Canada. I cannot believe how many Canadians have been on the show today. It's awesome. Christy Lee, welcome to the show.
Yes, hi.
Hi. So what's your story, love?
My story is I have a husband who has a pornography addiction. He's had his pornography addiction since he was in grade 2. So now he's almost 41 years old. So that's over 30 years.
Did you say grade 2?
Enslaved in this.
2nd grade?
Yes.
We're talking 7, 8 years old.
It all started with somebody leaving their magazine in the school trash can.
Yep.
And
how has that affected your marriage?
It has, the best way to put it is at my lowest point. I felt like I was imprisoned in hell. And I'm the kind of person that follows with my heart, and to have your heart rocked to the core like that, I was completely devastated. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and I said, I'm now married to a person who does this to other people. And it was very difficult for me, and I've been married to him now for 10 years, and I could, at one point, barely hear God's voice whispering to me anymore, and I completely lost all sense of who I was. I just shut down as much as I could so that I couldn't feel the pain anymore, and at one point, I caught him red-handed, and I said, that is enough. Amen. I am not living in this prison anymore. Amen. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like to be on this other side of your addiction. And I'm telling you right now that I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak out about this, because I know I'm not the only one, and we are living in silence. Yes. And I said to him, no longer will I live in the shadow of your addiction. Yes. God has called me to love you with everything that I have, and he has said, don't give up on you, because he has not given up on you. Yeah. And I will continue to love you and continue to grow with you, but I need you to do the same thing.
Amen, amen, amen. And you know what? And that's a hard conversation to have, and I am so proud of you. We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
No more fear, no more shame, and no more excuses. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Christy Lee, I've got 2 minutes before I have to wrap up the show, but I got to hear, what's going on now? Is your husband going through treatment? Is he getting help? There has to be some line in the sand where this action cannot continue.
So the thing is there is not really any help for people with pornography addiction like we all think there is.
There is. Google this. Celebrate Recovery.
Yes,
very first caller.
I have Googled, and he has been through multiple programs.
This is an issue of sin, and if he continues, the Bible is very clear. It's very clear. You need to go get counsel with some pastors. I promise you that when adultery is in marriage, and it is, pornography is adultery in marriage. Jesus said it clearly, that if you even look upon a woman with lust in your heart, you have already committed adultery. So this is not the prison that God has or wants for you. The fact is we keep saying, if you don't get help, if you don't change, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, then I don't know what I'm going to do. No, it is, we're going to have to separate. You are going to have to really get serious about this and seriously have major accountability. And you're going to be surrounded by men that are going to help you if you want to save your marriage at this point. Because I am not going to live with this. And it is ungodly to extend continuous mercy without repentance. That's what you need to understand, Christy. You actually are giving more mercy than God gives. God eventually says, all right, buddy, you go ahead, have fun with yourself. Now you're going to deal with your consequences. If there's no consequences for your husband, his actions will not change. That's the Bible, crystal clear. So
exactly, and that's why we had that conversation. That's exactly the things that I said to him. That's exactly the things that we talked about.
So has he stopped?
We did find a treatment facility in Arizona, I think it is, and you go live there. It's a treatment facility, just as if you had an alcohol addiction, as if you had anything. Yeah. And so for a Canadian to go there, it costs $30,000.
Whatever it takes.
Right now, he's utilizing whatever he can that's here at this point in time.
Awesome.
But I think we need more people to understand that this is an addiction. It's not just something men do or women do, and it's all okay.
No.
And until it's noticed,
it costs money. Just as what you're looking right now. Look at this. It's going to cost your family $30,000 if he goes to that treatment center. It costs money. It affects the kids. It affects the marriage. It affects our health. It affects everything. I'm proud of you. You're taking a stand and you're telling that he has to get help. I'm really, really proud of you. But you got to hold your ground, honey. You got to hold your ground. Oh my gosh, man, what a show. Thank you so much. Man, every person that called in and shared their story, it takes so much courage, so much hope that was given, to testimonials of people who've come out of it. So we know it's possible. In fact, Christy, have your husband listen to today's show. He needs to hear the first man that you didn't get a chance to hear. He's a man that took up 10 minutes and shared his entire story and how he came free. Plus Mary Howard, who was here before that you called in. You need to hear these testimonies of how people got free. All right, we're out of time. Unfortunately, I could keep this one going for hours. We could talk about this for hours. There is hope. There is hope. Do not give in. Don't look for excuses. You got to come out. You got to get free. Tell somebody today that you need help. Get a hold of Celebrate Recovery. Find someone to hold you accountable. It's time. Your freedom is at hand. God bless you. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
This has been the Dani Johnson Show. If you want to hear more, visit us at DaniJohnson.com.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.